Hey guys, welcome to episode 11 of the How to Make a Spigot plugin for 1.15 series. Now, with 1.16 coming up, this series will work 1.16. I will start to use that Spigot download once it comes out. But only 1.15.2 is out right now, so let's use that. So in today's episode, we're going to create a plugin that deals with config files, because I feel like we learned enough stuff in the Spigot API to finally make some stuff custom. And that's what config files are for. Just to make things custom messages, custom items, whatever. And it can get a little complicated. So this isn't going to be like a normal episode, normal tutorial for config files where they show you how to set a message, blah, blah. I want to show you guys a little more complicated stuff when you don't know what the value is going to be. So this is what the config file is going to look like. And we are going to have a message. So I want to show you guys something basic, how to do a message. But we're also going to have this little thing right here. So we have blocks, and this is all custom. So we need the blocks, that's going to be a given, but then the dirt, sand, whatever is all custom. So a player can go in here and they can add a block to what they want. They can be, I don't know, iron block. And it's all customized and everything. And then they can add what it does. So I'm going to show you guys what the plugin actually does so it makes more sense. So whenever someone mines a sand block, they have a chance of getting a different item. As you see, I got gold nuggets there. If I keep mining, got flint, sand, gold nuggets. And that's basically what our plugin does. It's going to give a random item each time you mine a block. And dirt, let's see if I get something other than grass. I put a lot of items in for this. Okay, dirt, grass, dirt, grass. You can see I put a bunch of items in there. Just want some dirt, see what happens. Stone, diamonds. And that's basically what it is. So it's all customized, really just to show you guys how to use config files this plugin is meant for. But as you can see, I can add a block, I can add an iron block and have it drop something else. Iron ingot sometimes, whatever. And without further ado, let's get right into the plugin and show you guys how this works. So go hop into the Package Explorer, right click, go to New, Java Project. And I'm going to call this random block. And press next. And I'm going to add in my 1.15 Spigot jar file. All right. Once that's added in, go ahead, press finish, and we're going to create our first package. Package name is going to be me.yourname. The name of the package. If you have a website, it can be the website com.whatever. I don't have a website, so I'm going to name it me.codedred.randomblock. Then I'm going to create my main class, and just for this episode, we're just going to use one class, and it's going to be our main class. And then inside the main class, we're going to do the famous three things, and that is extends Java plugin. What this does, it brings in our Spigot API so we can use it. And then we're going to do the add override public void on enable. And then the add override, public void on disable. And I'm actually going to go ahead and create an on command as well. Public boolean on command, command sender command cmd string I'm gonna call labels, and then arguments. All right, so go ahead and import that, and once you have that done, creating a config file, the basic config file, is super easy. All you have to do, I'm gonna zoom out real quick, all you have to do is go into the on enable, type in this dot save default config, and just like that, we created the config.yml. We will of course need to go into the src, and just like creating a plugin.yml, go to new file and create a config, all lowercase, config.yml. And that's how you create a config.yml. The Spigot API has its own config.yml built into it, so it's super easy to create it. Next episode, I'm going to go over custom config files where I'll show you guys how I do it. But yeah, it's super easy to create a basic config file, and that's how you do it right there. Go ahead and just put this in the on enable and then create the config file, and it's done. Now, to use the config file, if you're in the main class, you would call it by doing this.getConfig. And then you can do dot, and you can see all the different things you can do. So, of course, you can add stuff, get stuff, and mostly what we're going to be doing is getting stuff. You can get a boolean, get a string, color, whatever, double int, keys, string lists, a bunch of different stuff inside this. And the first thing I want to show you guys is getting a message. So to do this, we're going to create the admin command of the /reload for the plugin. So it's going to do label.equals ignore case. And I want to name our command random block. And the first thing I want to check is if the sender.has permission. In the permission node, I'm going to make it be random block.reload. So we're creating a reload command right now. Say return true. Sender.send message. So that right there is just that if statement, just checking if they have the permission node, if they can do this command. If they do the permission node, let's go ahead and check their arguments. So if args.length equals 0, that means they're running just the /random block. And if they're running just that command, all I want to do is say sender.send message chat color red, and we'll say usage random block reload, and then we'll say return true. All right, now we can say if the args.length is greater than 0. Now we know they have an argument, and this is where we can say random block /reload. So if the args of 0 dot equals ignore case reload, go ahead and do this. So that's all some pretty basic stuff. I went over that in many episodes before, just creating a basic command. So right here, how to reload a config file is really simple, or just like saving the default config, where we're going to type is this.reload config. And then just like that, it will reload the config. Just to note, there is some other things in here like save config. And like I said, there's save default config. These are pretty different, these two saves. I don't recommend saving a config using this way, because it will get rid of all the comments in your config.yml. If you do save it this way, it'll get rid of all the comments. If you do it this way, it will save the comments. When it comes to when creating a data.yml, then we can talk about doing this. We could talk about creating a save config. We don't really care about comments. If we're just saving data like player movement, whatever, player inventories, we can go ahead and get rid of all the comments. When creating config.yml, it is nice to have comments in there for players to see. But of course, when you're doing, for example, this.getConfig.set, when you're setting something in a config, you will have to save it after. Now, I typically, when I code plugins, I do not save anything. I don't set anything to the config.yml. I kind of pre-plan that when creating a plugin. And I only use this set method when creating a data, like saving data. When I want to save where the player set their home, what location they set their home at. I want to set that to a data.yml. So then I can do save config. And I don't care if there's comments in there, it'll save the config. I'll go over more in depth about this in the next episode when we go over custom config files. But just for right now, all you need to know is when someone types in /random block space reload, we want to reload the config, and that's how you reload your config. We're also going to send a message, and we're going to send a sender.send message. I'm going to type in chat color.translate alternate color codes. And what is the message we want to translate? Well, I want to translate a custom message that we get from the config. And to do this, I'm going to type in this.getConfig.getString. And inside these quotes is like the block map. It's like where where in the config is it? Now, I made it really simple and I just made it reload message like this. But let's say we did reload. Oh, sorry, can't see it. Let's say you did reload and then you do 2 spaces, message. Now, if I want to get this line right here under the reload, I would have to go in my code and say reload dot message. This dot just brings it down another line. So when I do blocks dot dirt, it'll go down another line. Reload dot message. If I have reload dot, I don't know, time, reload dot time will go here. Just a dot brings it down another line. So you can do it like this if you have multiple things that you want to display, I guess. If you have multiple things that are under the reload, it makes it better organization, but it really doesn't matter. It's when creating, of course, YML, it's all customized. So you can do whatever you like. But we'll keep it as a dot. We'll do it like that. And that is how you get a message in the config. So basically what this message is going to do is going to translate the color codes of @A, @L, and it's going to send this reloaded random block. And it's really that simple. You can get strings that way, get ints, string lists, whatever. Actually, I'll show you guys string list real quick too. So a string list is just multiple lines of text, and that will look like 2 spaces, something like this. If you have multiple lines of text you want to send. Now, to do something like this, it's pretty simple. We're just going to use a for loop. And what we're going to say is for string I. And we're going to go through every single thing in the list. And to do this, we're going to say this.getConfig. .getString list. Reload dot message. Next, we're just going to, actually, let's just copy this. Copy this. Paste it in there, and then instead of this right here, all we have to do is type in I. And we can actually change this to message. Sorry, a little less confusing. So if you've never seen a for loop like this before, basically we're creating just like we can do int I, whatever. We're creating a string called message, and then we're setting that message equal to each value of the list. So it goes through the first value. It goes through this line first and saying message equals this. Go ahead and send the message. And then it's going to go through this line next. This message equals the second line. I'm going to send that message. So that's how you send if you want like a string list, if you want multiple lines from the config being sent. You can have like unlimited amount of lines here. Blah, 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 blah. Bunch of lines. And I did 2 spaces because that's typically how it should look. It will work if you don't do 2 spaces, but keep 2 spaces there. All right, now that that's all done, let's actually get into the real coding of this plugin, and that is the whole breaking of the block. When we break this block, we want it to drop something. And I'm lagging. Okay. Drop golden or whatever. So to do this, we will only be using an event, and the event that we're going to be using is the block break event. Sorry, ending my server. And of course, when creating events, we went over this before. The first thing we want to do is type in implements listener. Let's go ahead and import the listener, and then after the config saving, after we create the config, let's go ahead and register the event. And the event is going to be this.getServer.getPluginManager .register events, the S. And I'm going to say this because I'm just going to use the event in the main class. I'm just going to put the event right under our on command. So let's go ahead and do that. Hold on. All right. So we're going to create our event, and our event is going to be not event handler. And we're going to import that. Oh, sorry. We'll say public void on block break, and the event block break event. I'm gonna call it the event. Go ahead and import those. And I'm pressing Control-Shift-O to import. If you're on Mac, it's Command-Shift-O to automatically import it. So since we have the listener and we have the register events that are on enable, we can go ahead and create this method right here. And so I chose to do this plugin because it's a little more complicated than just getting messages, getting string lists, doing this for loop, whatever. I chose it because it's an unknown. So this dirt right here is unknown. We don't know what a person's going to put in here. It's so custom that someone can just put whatever they want. They can put, I don't know what's in our block, stone. We don't know what they're going to put in there because of how custom it is. So there's a certain way we have to do this. And the way we have to do this is going to be this .getConfig, and it's to be .getConfiguration section. This could be a little confusing to some people, so I'm going to try to explain it the best I can. So what we're going to do is get the configuration section. We're getting the section of blocks. We're going to get this section right here, whatever is under blocks. And what we want to do is we'll get the keys. We're saying get keys. And for this, inside here, I'm going to put false. I'll explain it right now. So we're going to get keys, we get false. And the reason why I'm putting false is because when you put true, when you say false, it's going to get the first key under it. So it's going to get blocks, it's going to get dirt, iron block, sand, whatever. When you put true, it's going to go through dirt, diamond, grass, stone, iron. It's going to go through every single key under it. So I'm going to put false. And then I'm going to say for each. And inside here, I'm going to say key dash little greater than sign, and then I'm going to put in a curly brace, and just like that, that is done. And let me explain what this does real quick. So like I said, it's going to find that blocks. It's going to find that configuration section of blocks, and you don't need to put a period under that. Just keep it as blocks, because that's the section that we want to find. It's going to find this blocks section, and then it's going to get keys. And like I said, I put false here because I just wanted to get the first key. I want to get dirt. I want to get iron block. I want to get sand. I don't want it to go through all these different other keys. So it's to go through the first key. And then for each key, and this right here is just a variable, for each var, for each whatever, for each block, I'm just creating a name there. It's a custom name. I'm just going to call it key. So for each key, go ahead and do this. It's just like a for loop. It's just like what we did right here. For each message, do this for each message. So this is how you get an unknown from the config. This is an unknown because I don't know what it's going to be because it's so custom. So I know this, and I know there's going to be something under it. So let's try to get what is under here. So for each key. So our first key in our config is dirt. And what do we want to do? We want to check if key equals ignore case event.getBlock .getType .toString. Basically what I'm saying in this if statement is if our key, which in our example is our first key is dirt right here, if dirt equals event.getBlock.getType toString, so this is the block that they are breaking. So if the block they are breaking is dirt, then I know let's do something to it. If the block that they are breaking is in our config, let's do something to it. And what we're going to do to it is create the first array of items. So I'm going to say item stack items equals new item stack. And then here we're going to do something special to, oh, sorry, I missed the equal sign. And import item stack, and we're going to get this little error message here. And that's because we need to define the size of the item stack. And this is another custom thing because we don't know the size of the item stack. They could have 100 items in there, one item in there. We don't really know. So we need to get the size of the string list. And to do this, we're going to say this .getConfig .getStringList. And in here will be blocks, or did I say blocks? Blocks dotted with the key. And then, oh yeah, and then dot size. All right. So what that is doing is, like I said, it's just going through. We're creating an array of items. So we have an array of items. In here, there's an array of items. There's multiple items under this one. And we're going to set this is just setting the size of the array list, of the array items. And we're just getting the blocks and the key. And like I said, the key is just the value that's on right now. It's this dirt value. It could be this iron block value, the sand. We don't know what the key is. All we know is that it's under blocks. That's all we know. And it's just get the size of the array. Just getting the size of how many items are in here. And now that we have that, we can go ahead and create the item stack. Item equals null. And let's go ahead. We'll do a few things here. So we'll say int. We'll say in position. We'll set it equal to 0. And then let's create a for loop. So just like the for loop above, it's going to go through an array list and get config .get string list, or string list. Sorry, I didn't mean array list. And to go through the exact thing we just typed up above, instead of getting the size, we're just going to actually get the entire list. So instead of go through, and it says set this string that we called I equal to the first item in the array list. So let's go through and just set the I equal to diamond. And it's going to set the I equal to grass, and then I equal to stone, and then I equal to iron, whatever. Let's go through each item in the array list, the string list. And the reason why we're doing this is because we want to set the item stack we made, to a new item stack. Material dot match material I. Basically what I'm doing here, I'm just creating the item, so I'm going through each item in that list. I'm creating the diamond item, I'm creating the grass item, I'm creating the stone item, so I can go ahead and drop it for them. This right here can cause a problem, and it can cause a problem because of user error, and we want to check that user error. If someone types in dirt wrong, so if someone types, instead of typing dirt, they type dir, that is not an item in Spigot. It's going to cause an error in the console. So let's go ahead and surround this with a try and catch. We'll say try this, and we're going to catch. Let's go ahead and just caps exception E. And then if it's exception E, we'll just go ahead and set a new item stack to the material.match material. And we'll set just to the key. So in here, I will be one of the values. It'll be, if my key is dirt, then my value is diamond. I is diamond. My key is dirt. So if I go in here and they spell diamond wrong, let's go ahead and just give them back the item that they are mining, dirt. We'll just throw that item into the list, the items array. That'll just solve our errors and be better. Next, we need to add that item to the item stack array. And to do this, we're going to say items position equals item. And that one right here, I'm just adding this item we created to this items. Next, I want to say position ++. And that's just to get the next value in the array, so it doesn't keep overwriting the same value. And then let's go ahead and make it a little more custom, and we're going to put up here, let's say random r equals new random. Go ahead and import that. And then after this I, I'm going to put a comma and say r.nextInt. And inside these parentheses, I'm going to say 16. And that right there, I'm just creating a random number. So if you haven't done this before in Java, this is how you create random numbers. There's multiple ways of doing this, but this is how I create random numbers. And basically what I'm saying, r.nextInt it's taking a value of 16 and it's just going to put a random value from 1 to 16, whatever. There's a random number. And what I'm doing here is just saying, creating an item of diamond and I'm going to give it a random number. So you can get 1 diamond sometimes. You can get 7 diamonds, 16 diamonds, whatever. It's just random. All right, and that's it. We're almost there. That is how you go through the items and when you don't know the actual item value. All right, and then after this for loop, we can go ahead and say event.set drop items. We're going to set this to false. And what set drop items does is when you mine dirt, you get dirt. And we want to say false. We don't want them to get dirt. We want to get whatever we give them. Whatever we have that config, that's what we want to give them. And there's another thing that you usually do when creating events, and that is set canceled. And we are not going to do this. Because when you do set canceled to true, what this line does, it makes it so whenever you mine the block's not going to break. It's going to stay there. It's like a block that is infinite. Like if you have set canceled, the event of it breaking will not occur. So we don't need that. What we do need is a world. And the world will equal the event.getPlayer.getWorld. And the reason why we need the world is because we want to spawn the item. Because we're not doing this set drop items, we're spawning it ourselves. We need to do world.drop item naturally. And this is the location. Sorry, this is the location. So this is event.getBlock.getLocation. And then this arg1 is just the item, and that is items. And we need to make that random. So let's go ahead and say int num equals r.nextInt items.length. Awesome. And then we'll say num. All right. And that is it. That's all we're going to do for right now. Go over this real quick. So this is going to drop an item naturally, and this is the location we want to drop it. We want to drop it at the location the item breaks. And the item that we want to drop is a random number that we put into this array right here. And the random number, I'm just using the same exact random R I've created up here. And I'm just going to go through each item in the length, each item in the array. I hope I explained this pretty good. It can get a little confusing. I definitely use this a lot. I have a lot of plugins that are really customizable, and I never know what people are going to be put in there, so I have to use this to see what they're going to put in there. And then just like that, we are basically done. The only thing left is setting a default config, and let's zoom out. Inside our config.yml, we need to put in here, of course, the reload. What did we say? We made this. So we can say reload space message space. This would be just our message, and I don't know, we can say @a@l you reloaded the plugin ... Let's see, @l random block. And that's just what we had before, just what's right here. And now we can go ahead and actually create the blocks. So we said blocks space, and under this line, of course, everything is custom. So I'm just gonna say dirt, and under here, 2 spaces, I'm gonna say give us dirt, and give us more dirt. If you add a lot of blocks in here, it'll really make it random, and like the diamond will be rare, I guess. We can say stone. We can say grass. I don't know, iron. Ignite. And let's say for our last one, I don't know, iron block. And of course, I can add more items. Can add sand. Sand will give us dirt. Or sand. I don't know. You can go ahead and mess around with that and add whatever you want. This is what I added before the video. a bunch of stuff. But yeah, now all we need to add is our plugin.yml. So let's go ahead, right click on your SRC, type in plugin.yml. It's gonna be our main, and our main is gonna be me.codedred.randomblock.main. The name will be random block. The author would be yourself. The version will be 1.0. Let's throw in an API version. And here we can just say 1.13. I'm going to say 1.13 because 1.13 and above are all using the new block IDs. So you can say 1.15 if you just want 1.15 blocks, but I mean, really 1.13 is perfectly fine. 1.13, then we're going to say commands, 2 spaces, random block. And then just like that, we should be all done. That looks great. I'm going to go ahead and start my server real quick, and I'll be right back. All right, when my server booted up, we'll show you guys how if it works or not. But before I do that, there's actually one more thing that we need to change. And that is right here. I put it in a +1, and my bad. Random numbers go from 0 to 15, so it'll go from 0 to 15. It'll go to the number under. So in here, if we didn't have this +1, then if the value is 0, error cannot drop. So we have to put this +1 in here. So they're always, just in case the random number ends up to being 0, we're making sure it's at least 1. So with that added in, you can go ahead, boot up your server, and let's go ahead and test it out. I mined a lot of sand over here, so let's go over here. And if I mine some sand, you'll see our dirt 10, sand 2, just a bunch of random numbers. Really, realistically, I guess this plugin isn't really good for economies, but it's just a fun plugin to show you guys how to get config file values, and especially if they are unknown, how to get them. This plugin actually could be pretty cool if you add a few more things in here, add more like randomization kind of stuff, and add a bunch of different kind of blocks. Could be like an MCMO kind of plugin where you level up, and if you level up really high, you can start dropping CDs or whatever in your mine blocks. Well, thank you guys for watching. I know this video ran a little long. It's about like 33 minutes right now. I did want to show you guys that, and really important. I felt like when I was coding, I did have troubles trying to figure out how to find an unknown. Now you guys know, you guys can make your plugins really cool and really customizable. I'll see you guys in the next episode for custom config files. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. See you guys next time.